Amelia Brooks was already exhausted when the siren started. The back of the ambulance rattled as it turned sharply, the city lights of New York smearing into streaks of color through the small rear window. It was almost 11 p.m. Her shift should have ended an hour ago, but someone had called out, and Amelia had said yes. She always said yes. "Brooks, you with me?" Her partner, Javier, called from the front. "Yeah," she answered, adjusting the trauma bag at her feet. "What do we got?" "Mail. Possible collision. Expensive car. Midtown. Caller said the front is completely crushed." Amelia closed her eyes for a second. Expensive car. Late at night. Midtown. So, probably drunk, reckless, and rich. "Any other details?" she asked. "Just that he's still breathing," and the caller sounded freaked. The radio crackled, dispatch confirming they were 2 minutes out. Amelia inhaled slowly and checked her gloves. Her mind went into that quiet space it always did on a call, where everything slowed down and lined up. Steps, procedure, priority, airway, breathing, circulation, feel later, work now. The ambulance stopped with a jolt. Javier threw the doors open, and a wall of cold Manhattan air hit her. The first thing she saw was glass. It glittered like ice across the wet street, catching bits of light from the traffic signals and phone screens of the small crowd that had already gathered. In the middle of it all, angled against a concrete barrier, was a midnight black sports car with its front end crumpled in like paper. "Damn," Javier muttered. "That's a Bentley, right?" Amelia barely glanced at him. She was already moving. "Sir," she called as she approached the driver's side, her boots crunching glass. "Can you hear me?" The driver's door was smashed in, twisted toward the median. She could see a man inside, his head tipped forward, dark hair matted, one hand hanging limp near the wheel. The airbags had deployed, but blood streaked the white fabric. "Help is coming," she said firmly, voice steady. "I'm Amelia. I'm an EMT. If you can hear me, try to move your fingers." His lashes fluttered. "Good. Javier, I need the crowbar now," she said over her shoulder. A girl in a sparkly dress sniffled nearby, mascara smeared. He just flew past the light," she stammered. "I think someone cut him off. It wasn't. It's okay." Amelia said quickly, "Step back for me, please. Give us room." Sirens wailed again in the distance. Police? Maybe another ambulance. But right now, this man was hers. Javier passed her the crowbar, and she wedged it into the bent metal, grunting as she leaned into it. "Come on," she muttered under her breath. "Come on." Metal groaned, then gave an inch. From inside the car, she heard a low sound, half cough, half groan. "Hey," Amelia said louder. "Stay with me, all right? I need you to stay." Awake. The man's head moved slightly. She caught a glimpse of his face under the mess of blood and airbag dust. He was annoyingly good-looking. Of course. Sharp jaw, strong cheekbones, expensive watch still on his wrist. Great. Of course the universe gave her a late-night trauma call with someone who probably had a lawyer more powerful than her entire paycheck. She pushed that aside. "Got it," Javier said, helping pull the door enough that Amelia could squeeze through the gap. She leaned into the car, careful of glass and twisted metal, and placed 2 fingers gently on his neck. Pulse. Rapid, but strong. "Sir, I need your name," she said, bending closer. His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharpening, locking on her face. For a split second, she felt it. Something like static. An intensity that didn't match someone half unconscious. His voice cracked. "What happened?" "Car accident," she said. "You're okay for now, but we need to get you out. Can you move your fingers and toes?" His gaze drifted, then came back. "Yeah, I think so." "Good. That's good." She checked his pupils, his chest, the way his ribs moved. No obvious impalements, no collapsed lung signs she could see from this angle. but blood was trailing down from somewhere near his hairline. "What's your name?" she repeated. He sucked in a breath, wincing. "Cole." "Okay, Cole. On 3, we're going to support your neck and help you shift. Don't try to move fast. You understand?" He blinked at her like he wasn't used to being told what to do. "Cole," she said more firmly. "Do you understand?" His jaw tensed. "Yeah." They got the cervical collar around his neck, slid the board as far in as they could from the passenger side, and with Javier's help, carefully maneuvered him out of the mangled car. Cole grit his teeth, but he didn't yell. Even in pain, his expression stayed tight, controlled. That bothered her more than if he'd cried out. They loaded him into the ambulance, doors slamming shut behind them. The noise of the crowd and the police sirens cut off as the world shrank to the narrow fluorescent-lit space inside. Amelia snapped into autopilot. BP cuff, pulse ox, IV line. Checking his ribs again as the ambulance pulled away, engine rumbling. "You're doing good," she said. "Any sharp pains in your chest? Abdomen? Neck?" "Mostly my head," he muttered. And pride. She couldn't help the small huff of amusement that escaped. "You almost turned your car into origami, and you're worried about your pride." He opened one eye, watching her. "Wasn't my fault." "Uh-huh," she said, not looking up as she cleaned a cut on his forehead. "Let me guess. The light turned red on its own. The road jumped at you. Gravity was personal tonight." A corner of his mouth tugged, then faltered at the sting of antiseptic. "You're not..." "Very comforting." "I'm not here to be comforting," she said calmly. "I'm here to keep you alive." His gaze lingered on her a second longer. "You sound tired." "That's because I am." "Long shift?" "Long life," she muttered, then shook her head. "Don't talk unless you have to. Save your energy." He ignored that completely. "How old are you?" he asked. She shot him a look. "Seriously? If you're bossing me around, I should at least know." Her brows lifted. "You're strapped to a board with a neck brace. I think the power dynamic is pretty clear." Unexpectedly, he laughed, a quiet, rough sound that made his ribs twitch and his face flinch. "Ow," he muttered. "Bad idea." "Yeah," she said. "Try not to be funny." He studied her like she was a puzzle. "You don't recognize me," he said after a beat, arrogant. "Should I?" she asked flatly. He hesitated, like he wasn't sure if she was serious. "I'm Cole," she cut in. "You told me. That's enough." Most people she treated, especially those in expensive cars, made sure she knew exactly who they were. CEO of this, owner of that, influencer, athlete. They liked to flash their status like it made their blood more important. If he expected her to play along, he picked the wrong EMT. He went quiet for a moment, watching her wrap gauze with quick, practiced movements. Outside, the city blurred past. Neon signs, wet pavement, shadows of high-rises stretching into the dark sky. "How bad is it?" he asked. She checked his vitals again. "You'll live." "That all?" "You might have a concussion," she said. "We won't know about internal injuries until they scan you. You're lucky." "Doesn't feel like it." Her jaw tightened slightly. "You're breathing. Trust me. That's luck." Something in her tone made his eyes flicker. "You seen worse?" he asked. Her mind flashed images she didn't want. A little boy's shoe in the street. A woman's hand growing cold in hers. A father screaming in the ER waiting room. "Yes," she said simply. He watched her with a new seriousness. The ambulance curved around a corner, siren echoing off buildings. "Where do you work?" he asked. "Right now?" "Here," she said. "After this." "Is there a reason you're interviewing me while bleeding?" she asked, exasperated. "Distraction," he said. "From thinking about how close that barrier was." She paused, then admitted silently that she understood that. City hospital, she answered. ER often enough it feels like I live there. Amelia the EMT, he mused like he was trying out the sound of it. You always this blunt? Only with rich guys who nearly turn themselves into street art. He huffed again. You really don't know who I am? She looked at him, at the very expensive watch, the cufflinks, the custom-tailored shirt torn at the collar, the car, the way he held himself, even now. She had a pretty good idea. You're a man in my ambulance, she said. That's all that matters to me. Something softened just a fraction in his expression. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The monitor beeped steadily. The city flickered through the small rear window. Then his gaze drifted up toward the ceiling, and his voice dropped. You could have walked away, he said. If that thing had caught fire, you risked a lot. She frowned, thrown by the shift. It didn't. But it could have. That's the job, she replied. No, he said quietly. That looked personal. Her throat tightened unexpectedly. She swallowed. You talk too much. He studied her face as if memorizing it. Thank you, he said. It wasn't the casual gratitude she was used to. It was heavier, real. She forced a light shrug. Try not to make a habit of almost dying. I don't want to see you again. Cold, he murmured. From someone so warm. She pretended not to hear that. The hospital came into view ahead, bright and sterile and buzzing with late-night chaos. As they backed into the bay, Amelia unbuckled the straps, preparing to hand him off. All right, Cole, she said, professional again. Once we're inside, I'm turning you over to the trauma team. They'll run scans, stitch you up, and probably lecture you. Listen to them better than you listen to me. Doubt it, he said, but there was a faint smile now. Do you stay? No, she said. I've got other calls. Something like frustration flickered across his face. He didn't like not being able to control this, she realized. Of course he didn't. The doors opened, cold air rushing in. Hospital staff appeared. The receiving nurse, a doctor, a tech with a chart. Male, early 30s, restrained driver in MVC. Amelia rattled off. Possible concussion, laceration to forehead, vitals stable, no obvious deformities, responsive and oriented, complaining of head pain. As they rolled him toward the sliding doors, he twisted slightly, eyes finding hers again. She held his gaze for a heartbeat, then looked away. She'd done her part. Inside, under harsh fluorescent light, the rich and powerful looked exactly like everyone else. Bloody, scared, human. They transferred him onto the hospital bed. A nurse moved in to cut what was left of his shirt. A doctor began issuing orders. Amelia took a step back, feeling that familiar shift. The moment when a patient was no longer hers. Wait, Cole said, lifting his hand slightly, still strapped. His eyes were on her. At least tell me your last name. She hesitated. She shouldn't care. It shouldn't matter. Brooks, she said finally. Amelia Brooks. His lips parted like he wanted to say something else. She didn't give him the chance. Take care of yourself, Mr. Cole, she said, purposely not using his last name. Next time, don't try to kiss a concrete wall with your car. She turned to walk away. Amelia, he called after her. She paused, glancing back. There it was. That look again, like he was used to getting what he wanted. Like the world bent a little around his decisions. How much do I owe you? He asked. The nurse snorted. Sir, this is a city hospital. He ignored her, eyes still on Amelia. For you. For going back for me. Name your amount. Several people in the room slowed, listening. Amelia's jaw tightened. There it was. The part she hated. The assumption that everything, even risking her life climbing into twisted metal, had a price, Her chest burned with a sudden sharp flicker of anger. She stepped closer, dropping her voice so the whole room wouldn't hear. But her words were clear. "You don't owe me anything," she said. "That's my job. I don't save people for tips." His brows drew together. "That's not what I meant." "Maybe not," she said. "But you should know something." She held his gaze, feeling that tiny, reckless piece of herself lean forward. "Not everyone you meet wants your money, Cole," she said quietly. "Some of us actually sleep at night without it." A breath of silence passed between them. Something shifted in his expression, a flash of surprise, then something sharper. The room felt smaller, like the air had thickened. Amelia stepped back. "Have a good life," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Try not to crash into anything else." Then she turned away fully this time, pushing the empty gurney, heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. Behind her, Cole Harrington, because of course that's who he was, her brain finally supplied, lay there, staring after her like no one had ever spoken to him like that before. The automatic doors slid closed behind her with a soft hiss. The night air was cold again, biting at her cheeks as she walked toward the ambulance bay. Javier glanced up from where he was filling out a form. "Everything good?" "Yeah," she said, climbing back inside. "He'll live. Rich guy, right?" Javier grinned. "You should have gotten his number." Amelia rolled her eyes and snorted. "Please. The last thing I need is some spoiled billionaire who thinks he can buy his way out of anything." She didn't look back at the hospital. She didn't see Cole on the bed, jaw tightened, eyes still fixed on the last place he'd seen her. Or the way his hand curled slowly into a fist as he whispered to himself, barely audible over the chaos of the ER. "Amelia Brooks." Outside, in the chill of the New York night, Amelia climbed into the ambulance, put on her gloves again, and reached for the next call. Whatever this was, whatever strange pull she'd felt in his gaze, it didn't matter. She had a life that did not include billionaires, or so she thought. Thank you for staying to the end. If you want the next episode, the deeper romance, the revenge arc, and the billionaire twist, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the story going, and trust me, what comes next is even wilder. Watch out for episode 2.